family, and welcome back to another episode of Stay Juicy. I am your host, Dr. Ariana, and I'm so glad you joined me again. We are continuing this conversation around the menopause myths. And today I'm going to be talking about the second myth, which is that menopause is kind of like a destination. You know, oftentimes patients are kind of like, I'm not there yet. You know, I can see a patient that's literally in perimenopause, meaning she's leading up to menopause, but she's like, I'm not there yet. So I really want to just break down the different phases, the different stages of menopause. We're going to be talking about premenopause, perimenopause, and of course, post-menopause. And I want to define kind of what those periods are. And I want to help you understand that it is not about you just kind of reaching this point, but it's the whole kit and caboodle. You're getting all of it, right? And I want to help you understand more about your magical, mystical midlife journey. The second myth is this idea, once you're menopausal, like, okay, something has clicked, it's happened, and then something changes. And it doesn't quite work that way. I want you to appreciate that this is a spectrum. It is a continuum. And on that continuum, we kind of define where we are, right? And understand that you've been changing ever since you were born, right? You were an infant, then you were a child, and then you were a preteen, and then you were a teen. You went through puberty. And then after puberty, you came into your reproductive years where you spent a good amount of time. We get kind of caught up with this menopause, like, am I in menopause? Did I make menopause? Menopause at the end of the day is one day. So I'm going to break down the different times that we could define menopause. There's premenopause, which you could pretty much call your reproductive years. You're ovulating, you're having your menstrual cycle, and you may or may not feel any changes in your menstrual cycle, your mood, or anything else. And then there's perimenopause. Perimenopause is a period that leads up to menopause. Now, here's where it gets a little interesting. And a lot of people don't seem to understand, and I certainly didn't understand, that perimenopause can precede your menopause by up to 10 years. Especially in African-American women, averages about 10 years. As a general population, that averages somewhere between 4 to 8 years. But it is very, very possible that you could be symptomatic with perimenopausal symptoms for 8 to 10 years before you actually stop having menstrual cycles. Now think about it. If the average age of a woman becoming menopausal is between 45 and 55, and 10 years before that, she started having symptoms, I'm a poster child for that. That means by her mid-30s, she's experiencing irregular menstrual cycles, worsening PMS, night sweats, brain fog, weight gain, joint pain. I mean, all of it. And so somehow people want to think that menopause carries a certain weight, or that there's certain symptoms that are just going to come with that. But at the end of the day, the symptoms, all of it, it's all on the spectrum. So you can start having your symptoms ostensibly at 35 years old and continue to have those symptoms up until 55 years old. Because even though you might be menopausal by 45, meaning you went 12 months without having a menstrual cycle, that don't change anything. You still may be having your night sweats and your hot flashes and your brain fog and your joint pain and vaginal dryness. In fact, I want you to think of it like it's a continuum, because the symptoms that you have early on in the perimenopause may look different than the symptoms that you have later on. Let me give you an example. Worsening PMS is a very real symptom of perimenopause. You're not going to have worsening PMS 10 years postmenopausal because you're not menstruating, right? But you may very well have irritability and fog and difficulty with sleep, night sweats. So you may have some of those symptoms even early on in your perimenopause, but maybe early on in perimenopause, the only symptom you had was my PMS got a little bit worse. My cycles got a little lighter, or they got a little heavier. You're not going to have those symptoms when you're menopausal or postmenopausal. But symptoms that can very much occur in perimenopause are sleep disturbances, vaginal dryness, pain with intercourse, urinary incontinence. And guess what? Those symptoms, they don't necessarily change while you're on that continuum. So 10 years out, 20 years out, if you're not correcting the issue, especially with vaginal dryness, you're going to keep having vaginal dryness. It's not going away. So this idea that you need to kind of find this concrete point where you're menopausal, you're going to kind of know the year that you're menopausal, right? Because the average woman isn't necessarily keeping up with her menstrual cycle that closely that she knows exactly 12 months from the last menstrual cycle. Although some of you guys are using these apps out there, which I highly recommend and I think are great. And so you may have a little more accuracy because we're able to use a little more technology to keep up with this. You know, people back in the day, my age, yeah, even if we had the apps, we weren't using the apps. It's just like, yep, I'm not having a menstrual cycle anymore. I think I asked women, when was your last period? Oh, it was maybe sometime last year, maybe sometime in March. I don't remember. It really doesn't matter. We know at the end of the day that you're menopausal. You haven't had a cycle in at least a year. Don't be fooled. Even though you haven't had a menstrual cycle in a year, there are women that go on to go even beyond a year and then still have bleeding after that. Now, that bleeding, on average, we are going to need to work up. We need to figure out what's going on, making sure there's no other issues. But just understand that your body is just changing. And some women, it just takes a little bit longer. And for some women on this journey, they're going to get through this thing real quick. Like they're going to have 2 months of hot flashes or maybe none, maybe a little sleep, whatever they're going to have. And then they're just done and they don't feel anything. The statistics right now look like a third of women are going to kind of breeze through. A third of women are going to, have some of the most common symptoms and deal with it. And a third of women are going to really struggle. That was me on that struggle bus. And if you happen to be one of those women on the struggle bus, no, you're not alone. There's nothing wrong with you. It just means that we need to adjust how we are treating you and managing things. And you may have to do a little bit more than some of your peers. You can't necessarily look at your peers and say, well, she didn't have severe PMS or feel like she was, losing her mind. So-and-so went through it just fine. It just doesn't work that way. We're all going to have a unique experience. And really what this is about is helping you understand that this is your experience. This is your journey and that you are on a continuum because trust you me, I am at least 10 years postmenopausal now. And I'm starting to realize, oh, there's still things that are happening here. My brain is still changing. My body is still changing. And so it's almost like, we're literally, somebody the other day called it a whack-a-mole. It's like we got one thing under control and then this other thing is happening over here. And it's really just the nature of aging in general. It's like our bodies are changing and we got to keep up with what those changes look like. So menopause is not a destination. It is a journey. You have your premenopause, perimenopausal state. You have your menopausal state, which means you've just not had a menstrual cycle for 12 months. And that literally is just your last menstrual cycle birthday. And then you're postmenopausal. Now, does it matter where you are on that spectrum? Well, if you want to be a purist and define exactly where you are, sure. But at the end of the day, understand that it's really not about your menstrual cycle, ladies. It's about your evolution and it's about understanding how your body is changing and how you're going to keep up with those changes. So the average age that a woman is going to be menopausal is 52, but you can be menopausal at 45, completely normal, and up to 55, 58 years old. 58 is a little older to be menopausal, but from 45 to 55, very normal. A lot of women think, oh, I went through early menopause, in my 40s. No, that's not early menopause. That's very normal. We consider early menopause if you are menopausal somewhere between 40 and 45. And if you become menopausal prior to 40, then that's probably something else. And oftentimes it can represent what's called premature ovarian failure, which is a whole nother conversation. But at the end of the day, you're not there yet because you're never there because it's a journey. I hope that this episode helped you just understand the different points that you're going to be on your magical, mystical midlife journey here. And that, it's not about a destination. It's all about the journey, my loves. Listen, I have been practicing medicine now over 30 years. And I am still on a journey. I am still learning. I am still growing. I am still evolving. And it goes the same for our bodies, for our hormonal changes. We're forever evolving. And I'm personally trying to learn how to just embrace this journey, right? And really get into the present moment and recognize that it's all about the journey. One thing about life, and I wish I could practice it better, but it's all about enjoying the journey, like experiencing it and not waiting for that thing that's going to come, that relationship that's going to, present itself, or that job, or, that amount of money in the bank account. It's about the journey and being able to just stop on whatever point you are on that ride and to be able to just be okay with where you are on that ride and know that it's going to be okay and that you're never quite there. We're never quite there. There is no destination. It's all about this journey. And what I like to refer to as my jewels for the journey. And there are 10 jewels: gratitude, acceptance, patience, purity, prayer, vision, silence, love, service, and discipline. And the discipline really is about going back to the top of the list and remembering to start every day with gratitude first and accepting the things that you cannot change and really being patient with the whole process while you're on the journey. We'll be talking more about the jewels for the journey as the podcast goes on. That is what I would call my passion kind of project to share, and more on my spiritual vibe, I guess, as you would say. But, we're going to be talking about menopause. We're going to be talking about spirit. We're going to be talking about sex. We're going to be talking about all the aspects of this journey that we're on. And, I feel like we can't really talk about one without talking about some of the others, because none of us live in a vacuum, and our lives are holistic. Our lives are to be integrated with all of these parts. So I am so excited that you're here with me, and I hope that you continue to come in and listen and share with your friends and just share the conversation in general. Let's start having the conversation. Let's not keep it a secret. Let's not be silent. Let's be bold. Let's be empowered. Let's learn. Let's share with our partners, even men, to help them understand. Because yes, we're going through some things. We got to have these conversations. And I hope to be a vessel and a space where we can come and talk about all of the things. So remember, ladies, stay brilliant, stay beautiful, but most of all, stay juicy. I'm Dr. Ariana. And that's Duke, by the way. He'll be popping in and out sometimes in the videos because he's demanding, and he'll bark if I don't let him be involved in all the things. So, all right, guys, stay juicy. It's Dr. Ariana. See you on the next one.